I knew the smell before I knew the danger. Bleach has a way of announcing itself: sharp, impatient, dishonest. The bottle was labeled sterile saline, but my nose didn't care about labels. It cared about truth. One sniff told me everything I needed to know. Someone in my house wanted me blind, and they expected me to scream. I need to tell you this story. Not because I want sympathy, I don't, but because what happened in my quiet house could happen in yours. And maybe, if you know what to look for, you'll catch it before it's too late. Subscribe and comment where you're listening from, because quiet houses hide loud intentions, and this one almost ended me. The bathroom was still asleep, tile cold under bare feet. The fan hummed like a tired insect. I liked mornings quiet. Post-op routines reward quiet men. I set things in rows: gauze, drops, timer. Counting helps. Always has. I'm Arthur, 72, retired chemical engineer. 43 years of plants, valves, and mistakes that never made it past a clipboard. I don't guess. I verify. Especially when someone else's work can cost you a limb. Cataract surgery 2 weeks earlier. Right eye first. Left next month. The world had sharpened overnight. Edges clean again. Irony came later. I picked up the bottle. White plastic, blue cap, pharmacy sticker crooked by 2 degrees. I noticed because I always notice. Habit. Survival. I twisted the cap. The smell cut through the room. Not saline. Not even close. Bleach has a bite. Sodium hypochlorite doesn't ask permission. It shoves its way into your sinuses and demands attention. My nose twitched. My shoulders locked. My hands went steady in a way they hadn't been in years. I didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't drop it, because panic ruins evidence. I held the bottle up to the light. Viscosity wrong, too thin, like water pretending to be medicine. I tipped it and watched the meniscus lie to me. Labels lie. Liquids don't. On the counter sat a folded blue shop towel. I squeezed 1 drop. The towel whitened instantly. A small, obscene magic trick. Gone. Just gone. I capped the bottle. Slow. Careful. Like it could hear me. Some men yell when they're scared. Some pray. I inventory. Count. Plan. 1 tainted bottle. 1 house. 2 people who said they were here to help. My son David and his wife Jessica had moved in for a few weeks. That's what they said. After surgery, after anesthesia, after the doctor warned me about dizziness and dependency. Words matter. So does timing. I slid the bottle into my robe pocket and opened the cabinet. There it was. The spare. Travel kit from Phoenix, unopened, still sealed. I swapped them. Left the good one where the bad had been. Put the bad where I could feel it against my ribs. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. My mouth tasted like pennies anyway. The kitchen clock ticked. Loud. Accusatory. I washed my hands longer than necessary. Warm water. Soap that smelled like lemons. I counted to 60. Twice. Then I walked out like a man who'd just saved his eyesight without anyone knowing. Jessica stood at the stove. Silk robe. White. The kind that doesn't like splatter. She was stirring eggs with a wooden spoon I bought in 1998. Maple. Smooth from use. She never liked it. Too rustic. Too old. Morning, she said without turning around. No smile, no question. Just sound to fill space. Morning, I said. My voice surprised me. Steady, gravelly, useful. David sat at the table scrolling his phone. Hoodie, socks on the chair, coffee untouched. He looked up, then down again. 1 glance, 2 seconds. He used to hug me when he came over. That stopped 5 years ago. After the transfers became routine, I sat, pulled the napkin onto my lap. The chair creaked the same way it had since 1976. Oak. Real wood. I built this table myself, counted the dowels, sanded the edges until my fingers went numb. I rubbed my right eye. Just enough, not too much. Jessica turned, watched. A flicker crossed her face. Not concern. Calculation. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Bit dry." She waited. One beat too long. Then went back to the stove. The coffee smelled burnt. I drank it anyway. Bitter suits mornings like this. 10 minutes passed, then 15. No scream, no crash, no ambulance. Jessica's spoon slowed. David's foot bounced. I counted the taps. 43 in a minute. Nervous habit. He picked it up after Vegas. He never stopped. "Doctors say anything about side effects?" Jessica asked. "Dryness," I said. "Blurry for a minute." She smiled then. Small, private, like a receipt you don't plan to keep. "Oh," she said. "Good. Good." I finished breakfast. Eggs rubbery, toast cold. I washed my plate, put it away. Routine tells lies better than words. "I'm going to lie down," I said. "Head's a bit heavy." David nodded too fast. "Yeah, rest." I walked down the hall, past the family photos, past my wife's smile frozen at 48, past the thermostat I paid too much for because Jessica liked the interface. $612, installed twice. The first one glitched. In the bedroom, I closed the door. Soft, quiet. I took my phone from the nightstand and set it face down on the dresser. Recording on. Red dot hidden. Battery at 87%. Enough. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan. Dust on blade 3. I made a note to clean it later. If there was a later. The house spoke when it thought I slept. Jessica's voice first. Low. Tight. "Did he take it?" David's reply came with a sigh. "I don't know. He didn't. He should have screamed," she said. "He should be in the bathroom screaming." Silence. Then the refrigerator door. Ice clinked. "If he goes blind," she continued, "the power of attorney kicks in automatically. That's how his lawyer wrote it. Temporary incapacity counts." David's chair scraped. "This is insane." "You said it would work," she said. "I said it would work, and it will. We need the insurance money, David. The loan sharks don't wait." Loan sharks, plural. Specifics matter. "How much?" he asked. 85, she said, plus fees. They called again. Twice yesterday. David swore. A soft one, the kind that doesn't burn calories. "If he took it," she added, "we're done worrying." The recording caught my breathing. Slow, controlled, useful. I stopped it after 5 minutes. Enough rope, enough knots. I sat up. My hands went cold. Then steady again. Old tricks. The body obeys when you give it numbers. $85,000. That explained the mail, the late-night pacing, the way David avoided my eyes when the bank statements arrived. I went to the safe. Dial turned left, right, left, click. The door opened like it always did. Inside, documents in manila folders, labels neat, dates precise, power of attorney, updated 2 weeks before surgery, my signature clean, my mistake generous. I flipped pages, found the clause. In event of permanent disability or loss of vision. Loss of vision. I closed the folder and put it back. Then I pulled the bleach from the lower shelf. Generic. Lemon scent. Cap slightly sticky. I placed it next to the tainted bottle and took a photo. Timestamp on. Evidence likes company. Back in the bathroom, I set up the camera. Simple. Countertop. Frame tight. I poured a drop from the bottle into a glass. Added a strip from my pool kit. The strip went dark purple. Alkaline. Aggressive. On video. I said nothing. Let the colors speak. When I finished, I cleaned everything with gloves. threw nothing away. Waste confesses later. Dinner was quiet. Too quiet. Jessica wore a dress she saved for good nights. David drank water like it owed him money. I placed 3 items on the table: the bottle, the strip, the phone. "David," I said, "can you read the expiration date for me? My eyes seem blurry." Jessica leaned forward. "Hungry?" "Oh no, let me—" I pulled back. "I didn't say the drops made them blurry." I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Clear, sharp, damning. The doorbell rang. Perfect timing is a myth. Preparation isn't. I stood, opened the door. 2 officers, calm, curious. "I called," I said. "I have evidence of attempted poisoning." Behind me, a chair fell. A hand reached. I caught a wrist. Hard. Old bones remember leverage. "Don't," I said. 1 word. Enough. The house finally screamed. They stepped in like men who'd seen 100 domestic calls and hated every one of them. Not because they didn't care, because people lie. People cry on cue. People suddenly remember details when uniforms arrive. I didn't give them theater. I gave them objects. "The kitchen table," I said. "Everything's there." Jessica backed away from the table like it had teeth. Her face went pale, then angry, then something else when she realized I wasn't confused. I wasn't dizzy. I wasn't the patient anymore. I was the witness. David stood halfway up, then sat back down like his legs didn't trust him. One of the officers, tall, broad shoulders, a wedding ring worn thin, looked at the bottle, then at me. "You're saying someone put bleach in this?" "I'm saying," I answered, "that bottle had bleach in it at 6:41 this morning, and I have the recording of them discussing what they expected to happen after I used it." The other officer, younger, took my phone and listened. His jaw tightened. He didn't look at Jessica while it played. He stared at the wood grain of my table like it could tell him what kind of night he was about to have. Jessica found her voice. "This is ridiculous. He's confused. He just had surgery. He probably—" "Probably what?" I asked. Short question. No volume. No anger in it. Just a clean blade. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "He probably mixed it up himself. He's been forgetful." Forgetful. That word again. The soft word people use before they try to take your keys. The older officer glanced at me. "Sir, do you have any medical diagnosis of memory impairment?" "No," I said. "I have a retirement portfolio and a surgical invoice. That's it." Jessica pivoted. Fast. "Officer, he's been making accusations. He's paranoid. He thinks everyone's out to get him." I watched her hands. She kept them near her waist, fingers flexing, like she wanted to grab the bottle. Evidence is always the first target. The younger officer held my phone up slightly. "Ma'am, the recording is you. You mentioned if he goes blind and power of attorney. That's not paranoia. That's planning." David finally spoke. "It wasn't supposed to—" His sentence died mid-breath, like he realized he'd just handed them the hammer. Jessica snapped toward him. "David, shut up." The older officer raised a palm. "Sir, step away from the table." David didn't move. The older officer repeated it, slower. "Now." David stood, hands up, like surrender was a new language. They separated them. One officer with David near the hallway. One officer with Jessica by the living room. Space makes liars sweat. They can't borrow each other's oxygen. The older officer turned back to me. "We need to secure the items. Bottle, test strip, phone recording. You also mentioned a bleach container?" "Bathroom cabinet," I said. "Lower shelf. Lemon scent. Same brand as the smell in that bottle, minus the lemon lye." He nodded. "Any other weapons in the house?" "Just paperwork," I said. "It cuts deeper." He didn't smile, but his eyes understood. While they checked the bathroom, I stayed put. I didn't pace. I didn't hover. I sat in my chair and listened to my house being taken apart by strangers. Doors opening, cabinet hinges creaking, the soft murmur of radio traffic. My stomach stayed flat and heavy, like a stone. Jessica's voice rose in the living room. Not screaming, performing. "You can't do this. This is insane. I'm his caretaker." Caretaker. That word sounded like perfume sprayed over garbage. The younger officer's voice clipped. "You're being detained while we investigate." Detained, not arrested yet. Words matter there too. David started pleading. "Dad, come on. This is getting out of hand. We can talk about this." "We can talk." He meant, "Don't make it real." I looked at him across the room. My son. The boy who used to run beside my truck, matching my steps like I hung the moon. Now he couldn't hold eye contact for more than 2 seconds unless he was asking for money. "I did talk," I said. "You recorded it for me." His face collapsed into something small. He swallowed. "It was Jessica's idea." Jessica barked a laugh that wasn't happy. "Oh, sure, blame me. Like you didn't sign the papers. Like you didn't say we needed a solution." "Solution," I repeated softly. "That's what you call blinding an old man. A solution." The older officer returned with gloved hands, holding the bleach bottle in an evidence bag. He set it down gently, like it might explode into more truth. "Sir," he said to me, "we're going to ask you some questions. We'll also need to contact the pharmacy and possibly your surgeon. This is serious." "It's attempted bodily harm," I said, "and conspiracy to exploit legal incapacity." He blinked once, then nodded. "Yes, sir." Jessica glared at me. "You're enjoying this. You're doing this because you hate me." I met her eyes. "I'm doing this because I like seeing." The younger officer asked David to turn around. Cuffs came out, not dramatic, not slammed, just the quiet click of consequences. David's shoulders sagged. "Dad, please." I didn't answer. My throat stayed dry. My hands stayed still on the table. I counted the clicks. 2, one wrist, 2, the other. 4 metal sounds total. I kept them like coins. Jessica saw the cuffs and panicked. Her mask cracked. "This is a misunderstanding," she shouted. "He switched the bottle himself. He set me up." I didn't argue. I didn't need to. The evidence was sitting in my kitchen like a guest who wasn't leaving. They escorted David first. He turned at the doorway like he expected me to chase him with forgiveness. I stayed seated. Jessica fought harder, not physically, with words, with that desperate, slippery anger people use when they can't control the narrative anymore. As they took her, she leaned toward me, face tight, voice low. "You think you've won. You don't know what you've done." I leaned back just enough to keep my space. "I know exactly what I've done." I kept my eyes. The door closed. The deadbolt slid. Same sound as always. Different meaning. Silence hit the house like a blanket thrown over a cage. The officers left after statements, photos, and careful instructions. Victim services pamphlet on my counter. A case number written in black ink that looked too ordinary for what it represented. When the last patrol car pulled away, I stood in my kitchen alone and realized something simple. My home had been invaded without a single broken window. I cleaned. Not because I was calm, because cleaning is control. I wiped the table. Then again. The wood absorbed nothing. It had been mine too long. At 9:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring, watched it vibrate on the counter. 5 times. Then stopped. At 9:17 p.m., another call. This time the screen showed David, jail. He'd memorized my number. That was something. I didn't answer. At 9:24 p.m., a voicemail appeared. I didn't play it yet. At 9:30 p.m., I opened my safe again, pulled out the power of attorney, the will, the trust documents, all the things that quietly decide who eats and who begs. I stared at my own signature. Ink, confident, foolish. Kindness looks a lot like weakness to the wrong people, and I had given them a blueprint. I made coffee. Late. Strong. The taste was burnt and honest. I sat at the table and finally played David's voicemail. His voice was thin. "Dad, please. Jessica's crazy. I didn't know she'd go that far. I was scared. Call me. Please." No apology. No, "I'm sorry I let her." Just call me. Like I still existed for his convenience. I deleted it. Then I opened my laptop and logged into my bank. 2-factor authentication. New password. 32 characters. No birthdays, no pet names, no mercy. I froze the accounts David had access to. Everyone. 5 clicks, 2 confirmations, 1 final email. Changes complete. Counting again. Control again. At 11:03 p.m., I pulled the mail tray from the hallway table. Stacks from the last week. I'd ignored them because Jessica handled it. I started sorting. There it was. A thick envelope. Bright red stamp. Final notice. I opened it with a letter opener I'd owned for 30 years. Brass. Heavy. My wife bought it because she liked things that lasted. Inside, a debt collection letter addressed to David. Amount, $85,000. Additional fees, $6,400. Interest accruing daily. Threats dressed up as options. The return address wasn't a bank. It wasn't even a legitimate agency. It was a P.O. box tied to a business name that sounded like a joke. I sat back and listened to the furnace kick on. The house warmed. My spine stayed cold. This wasn't a one-time act of desperation. This was a business plan. And I was the asset. I opened a fresh document on my computer and typed a title. Incident log. Arthur H. Date. Time. Observations. Evidence list. Engineers don't heal by talking about feelings. We heal by building structures that don't collapse twice. At 12:22 a.m., I wrote the final line for the night. They tried to take my vision. Tomorrow, I take everything they thought they owned. Morning came without permission. Pale light through the blinds. The furnace clicked off. The house smelled like coffee grounds and bleach ghosts that weren't there anymore. I slept 3 hours. Enough. At 6:04 a.m., I was already dressed. Jeans, button down. The brown leather belt I'd owned since Reagan was in office. It still fit. That felt important. I put the real eye drops in. 1 drop, blink, no sting, no burn. Just moisture doing its job. Verification complete. The phone rang at 6:17. Unknown number again. Different cadence. Official. "Mr. H, this is Detective Morales. I'm following up." "I'm awake," I said. "I assumed you would be too." A pause. Then a breath that sounded like respect. "We're charging your daughter-in-law with attempted aggravated battery. Your son is being held as an accessory pending review of the recording and financials." "Good," I said. 1 word. Enough. "We'll need you downtown later to finalize statements. Also, Child Protective Services may—" "No children in this house," I cut in. "Just adults who knew better." Another pause. Understood. I hung up and opened my calendar. White space everywhere. Retirement looks peaceful until you realize it gives predators a schedule. At 6:42, I called my lawyer, Harold Klein, 68, divorced twice, never sentimental about family. Exactly what I needed. He picked up on the second ring. "Arthur." "They tried to blind me," I said. "I have recordings." Silence. Then paper rustling. "I'm canceling my 9 o'clock. Come in at 8. "I'll bring copies," I said. Bring originals, he replied, and coffee if you're feeling generous. I'm not, I said, and hung up. I showered. The water hit my shoulders hard. I let it. Pain keeps things honest. Steam filled the room. I wiped the mirror with my hand and looked at my face. Same man. New lines. Clearer eyes. Jessica had once told me I looked fragile after surgery. Fragile men don't smell bleach. At 7:21, I opened the garage. My truck sat there like it always had. Dust on the hood, scratches on the bed. Reliable, paid for, insurance current. Another small mercy. The drive downtown took 18 minutes. I counted stoplights. 7 red, 2 yellow. No green until the end. Harold's office smelled like old carpet and ambition. He wore the same gray suit he always did. Tie crooked by a finger width. I laid everything out. The bottle. The recording transcripts I'd printed at home. The debt letter. The power of attorney. He listened, didn't interrupt. Took notes in block letters like a man who expected to be quoted later. When I finished, he leaned back. They were planning to declare incapacity. With chemical injury, they'd have had medical leverage. It's ugly. It's efficient, I said. For thieves. He nodded. We revoke everything today. Immediately. New fiduciary. Third party. No family. Do it, I said. And Arthur, he added, tapping the paper. This recording? This isn't just domestic. This crosses into criminal conspiracy, insurance fraud, elder abuse. Good, I said again. Charge it like a bridge collapse. He smiled once. Thin. I like how you think. By 9:03 a.m., my son no longer had legal access to a paperclip I owned. Revocations filed, notices sent. Digital confirmations pinged my phone like small victories. At 9:26, my phone buzzed again. Jail voicemail. David. Another one. I deleted it without listening. Counting works when you count the right things. At 10:11, I stopped by the pharmacy. Same one. Same clerk. Her name tag read Maria. She'd always been careful. I asked for the lot records. She frowned, checked the system. Her fingers moved fast. That lot number doesn't match your prescription, she said. I know, I replied. She looked up. Someone swapped the bottle. Yes, I said. In my bathroom. Her face hardened. I'll print everything, and I'll call corporate. Thank you, I said. You may save someone else's eyes. She nodded. No drama. Professionals recognize each other. By noon, the house felt wrong. Too empty, too honest. I packed. Not everything. Just what mattered. The brass letter opener, my wife's watch, 3 photo albums, my notebooks, a small lockbox with documents that no one else needed to see. Jessica's things were still there. Shoes by the door, makeup on the dresser, perfume in the bathroom that smelled like money. I didn't touch them. At 12:47, the doorbell rang. 2 men, dark jackets, no badges, haircuts too neat, shoes too expensive. Arthur H? One asked. Yes, I said, staying in the doorway. We're looking for David. I smiled, slow. So is the state. The other man stepped forward half an inch. He owes money. I don't, I said. He's family. I leaned against the doorframe, felt the solid wood behind me. Not in any way that spends. The first man's eyes flicked past me into the house, calculating. Maybe we can talk. Maybe you can leave, I said. Now. Silence stretched. Then the second man shrugged. He's not here. No, I agreed. And neither are you. They left without another word. Engines low, tires quiet. I watched them go and made a note in my incident log. Time, description, direction of travel. Predators circle when they think something's wounded. At 2:08 p.m., Detective Morales called back. We're upgrading charges. The pharmacy confirmed tampering. Your son's debt appears connected to known criminal lenders. Good, I said. Arthur, he added, softer, you did the right thing. I looked at my living room, at the couch I'd slept on when my wife was sick because she hated the bed rails, at the rug Jessica complained about because it showed wear. I know, I said. At 4:30, I drove to a storage unit across town, month to month, climate-controlled, no names on the mailbox. I unloaded the boxes, locked it, took the key off my ring, and put it in my wallet behind my license. Separation isn't emotional, it's logistical. At 6:02 p.m., I ate a sandwich standing up. Peanut butter, cheap bread, no appetite for anything else. At 7:19, Harold emailed. Subject line, done. Inside, confirmations, filings, and a short note. They will never control you again. I replied with one word, correct. At 8:44, I finally played the last voicemail. David's voice cracked this time. Dad, they said Jessica's looking at prison. They're saying I could too. Please, I didn't think... I stopped it there. Thinking is optional. Responsibility isn't. At 9 p.m., I turned off every light except the one over the kitchen sink. I washed one cup, dried it, put it away. Then I sat in the dark for 3 hours, listening to a house that no longer belonged to anyone but me. Tomorrow, I would leave it. Not because I was afraid, because contamination spreads when you stay too long in the wrong place. And I was done pretending bleach doesn't smell. I left the house at dawn, not dramatic, no last look. I locked the door and slid the key into the envelope Harold had prepared, addressed, stamped, final. Abandonment isn't loud, it's administrative. At 7:18 a.m., I checked into a hotel near the courthouse. Neutral carpet, clean sheets, no memories embedded in the walls. I slept for 90 minutes and woke without dreams. At 9:02, I was in Harold's office again. Same chair, same crooked tie, new stack of paper. They're filing formal charges today, he said. Your daughter-in-law is looking at attempted aggravated battery, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Mandatory minimum attached. And David? Accessory. Plus fraud exposure once the insurance angle clears discovery. Prison? I asked. Harold didn't soften it. Yes, maybe not long enough. I nodded. Numbers matter more than comfort. He slid one final document toward me. Disinheritance affidavit. Clean. Absolute. No contest clause reinforced. I read every line. Twice. Signed once. My hand didn't hesitate. At 10:41 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Arthur, a woman said. Calm. Professional. This is the prosecutor's office. We're confirming your intent to proceed. Yes, I said. There may be pressure from family. I have no family, I replied. I have records. A pause. Then, understood. At 11:30, I sat in the courtroom gallery. Not the front row, third bench back, close enough to hear, far enough to observe. Jessica entered in cuffs, orange jumpsuit. The color did her no favors. She scanned the room like a shopper looking for a refund. Her eyes found me. I didn't look away. David came in next, no cuffs yet, gray hoodie, shoulders collapsed inward. He looked older than he had at 42. The judge read charges, dry, procedural, words stacked like bricks, attempted aggravated battery, elder abuse, conspiracy, no metaphors, no mercy. Jessica started crying, loud, heaving, the kind meant for witnesses. The judge didn't look up. David whispered something to his public defender. She shook her head once. Bail denied for Jessica. Conditions set for David. Travel restricted. Assets frozen. Gavel. Done. 37 minutes total. That's how lives change. Outside, reporters waited, cameras hungry, microphones extended like weapons. "Mr. H, do you forgive your son?" one asked. I didn't stop walking. "No." Another voice. "Do you regret calling the police?" "No." Simple answers starve bad questions. By 2:14 p.m., Harold confirmed the insurance companies had been notified, claims flagged, policies frozen, investigations opened. The faucet had stopped running. At 3:30, I drove west. No destination broadcast, just motion. By sunset, I reached the coast. Salt air, honest sting. I checked into a condo I'd purchased 6 years earlier as a someday plan. 2 bedrooms, secure building. Doorman who asked for ID twice. Good sign. I unpacked slowly, placed objects where they made sense, counted drawers, tested locks, installed my own camera system before midnight. Control restored. Weeks passed. Jessica pled not guilty, then changed her mind when the recordings surfaced in Discovery. The Bleach, the debt, the timeline. She took a deal. 8 years. Eligible for parole after 5. Not my concern. David pled guilty to accessory and fraud. 3 years probation. Mandatory restitution he will never finish paying. He tried to call. Once. Then twice. Then stopped. Harold mailed the final confirmation on a Tuesday. I filed it without ceremony. No son, no daughter-in-law, no ambiguity. 6 months later, my ophthalmologist smiled. 2020, both eyes. I nodded, put the drops in, real ones, saline, clean. That evening, I stood on the balcony and watched the horizon hold its line. Solid, unmoving, reliable. I could see perfectly, and I intended to keep it that way. So, that's my story. I'm telling it because I think people need to understand something. The danger doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it's sitting at your kitchen table, waiting for you to close your eyes. I want you to think about something tonight. When you trust someone, really trust them, do you verify? Or do you just believe? Because I almost believed, almost trusted, almost used those drops without question, but I didn't, and that made all the difference. Stay safe out there, pay attention, trust your instincts, and for God's sake, if something smells wrong, don't ignore it. If this story resonated with you, I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe. Not for me, but because stories like this deserve to be heard. And hey, drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. Sometimes your words remind me I'm not alone in this.